What a morning, and I'm just so grateful to each of you. I remember when, many years ago, hello. It's the gag microphone. It's like the candle, the birthday candle that doesn't go out, right? This is the microphone. But before my prepared remarks, that I remember when I first came here and I shared this, that when I first came here, I only knew the people in the congregation who had been involved in the search process. Right? And there was like maybe a dozen people that first high holiday, 24 people or so. And I remember sitting around the living room at someone's house. I remember who it was. And you guys were there. A number of other people were there. And then the next high holidays, I remember looking out and being like, I had more stories that I shared in your life and more stories. And now I look out and there are so many stories. And you are sharing in my life, and I just am filled with gratitude. I appreciate that. Today we recited Birkat HaChodesh. It's the blessing announcing the new Hebrew month, and the month is Shvat. It begins on Tuesday, as Rebecca had recited. And it's a beautiful prayer filled with hope. Just as the tradition has us upon waking each morning say, Moda ani lefanecha, I give thanks to you as an expression of gratitude at waking up. Birkat HaChodesh is a prayer of perspective as well. Moda ani, I have woken up and I am grateful for the day. Shabbat is filled with gratitude for the week. And this prayer is gratitude for the potential that the month ahead is filled with. It is found in the Talmud. It comes from the section Brachot, and it says, may it be your will, the eternal, our God, to grant us long life, a life of peace, a life of good. This is what we recited just 15 minutes ago. A life of blessing, a life of sustenance, a life of vigor of the bones, a life marked by reverence of heaven and the dread of sin, a life without shame and embarrassment, a life of riches and honor, a life in which we may be filled with love of Torah and awe of heaven, a life in which you will fulfill all of our heart's desires for good. It is a prayer of hope, potential, looking forward that no matter what happened in this month, this past month, the next month may be filled with these virtues, inherent in who we are as Jews, and expressed in this prayer is optimism. Optimism, hopefulness, buoyancy, bullishness, rosiness. It is ingrained in the Jewish people. And I want to jump off with my teaching this morning from that prayer, and I will use my prerogative not as a rabbi today, but as a chatan, as a groom this morning. Judaism's optimism extends to love as well. Love in Judaism is many things. It is a command. Love is also an allegory for the relationship between the people Israel and God. The book of Shir Shirim is said to be the story not just of two lovers, but a story of God and our longing for each other. And love in Judaism is an act of kindness towards the other. And today in modern times, love is something else. Love is the emotional holy grail of great literature, and seemingly every Jennifer Aniston movie. Love is something we idealize, we search for, and America has built an industry around love to lift it up and to sell it, think Hallmark, and also to cheapen love, think reality television shows, entertaining certainly, but not cherishing love as a core value. So do you know Esther Perel? She is a therapist, has many books, podcasts that Sarah and I enjoy, and she goes on speaking tours. She is definitely part of the love industrial complex, and I think she's great. She has a blog that she's written, Why Modern Love is So Damn Hard, it's titled. So she writes that we have placed the wrong expectations on love and our partners in love. Let me share some of the blog post. The idea, she writes, the idea that we lose ourselves in the presence of our partner is deeply ingrained in the modern perception of love, particularly in the United States, she says. As almost all of our communal institutions give way to a heightened sense of individualism, we look more frequently to our partner to provide the emotional and physical resources that a village or a community used to provide. Is it any wonder that, tied up in relying on a partner for compassion and reassurance, intimate excitement, financial partnership, etc., that we end up looking for them for identity, or even worse, for our own self-worth? Combined with that with the commodification of love, the increasingly omnipresent, is there anybody else out there? And we have a recipe for decreasing the perceived cost of love, all the while increasing our expectations on our partnerships and even adding more to the list without really understanding what we're asking. Perel is saying society has cheapened love, fooled us into an idea that there is always something or somebody shinier or better, and diverted us away from investing ourselves more openly and honestly with our partners. If you have not listened to her before, she is a straight talker about communication between partners and also what are we really asking for in our relationship. Esther Perel continues, this year, she says, I've made it a point to take notes at any wedding I attend about the marital vow. I think this single speech is so reflective of the way our expanding expectations have gotten out of control. Here I offer a poignant, if exaggerated, example of how these typically go. And I will say I am only bringing a piece of her writing here, but the fuller description is hilarious, how we set unrealistic expectations about love. She writes, I promise that I will always be there for you, honest with you, kind, patient, and forgiving. For you are my lover and my teacher, and I honor the divinity in you, says the groom, with the uncharacteristic quiver in his voice. I promise to be your greatest fan and your toughest adversary, your partner in crime and your consolation in disappointment, responds his bride in almost perfect cadence. With unquestionable sincerity, he continues, I promise to tell you everything, to have no secrets except those we share. I promise faithfulness, respect, and self-improvement, she declares, to which he one-ups her by saying, I will not only celebrate your triumphs, I will love you all the more for your failures. Smiling through her tears, she says, I promise never to wear heels so you won't feel short. We don't have that problem. And Perel continues, the litany of expectations is a grand setup for failure. How could we actually be all of those things? These expectations are extremely difficult for us to provide to one another because they are contradictory or even in some cases incompatible. Perel writes in one of her books, contained within the small circle of the wedding band are vastly contradictory ideals. We want to choose one to offer stability and safety and predictability and dependability. That's what we want in a partner. And we also want that very same person to supply awe and mystery and adventure and risk. So what's the solution? How can we commit to another in love without losing ourselves in trying to meet these vast expectations? How can we be in a fulfilling partnership that also helps us grow as an individual? I want to offer 3 insights on love from Judaism. As I mentioned before, love is used as an allegory which works in both directions. The first is valuing deep love. Of course, in Deuteronomy, and you can look at page 155 in the Siddur for this verse if you want, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha. And you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your might. Can an emotion, ahava, be commanded, though? Obviously, it cannot be commanded, but it can be prioritized. It can be made clear that attaining this emotional state requires all of your effort to nurture love, to understand love, to see love, to cherish it, to appreciate it. And of course, to bring all of your person, your heart, your soul, and your mind to that effort. Even when life is busy and distracting and difficult, to always prioritize love. Sforno in the 16th century commented on Ve'ahavta. He said, you will then enjoy doing things which are pleasing to God when you understand that there is nothing in this world that is more worthy of doing. In the allegory, we can say that there is nothing more important to your partner than when you value being in love with your partner. That there's nothing more worth it than investing in that relationship, even if there are moments, immediacies, that feel like you can compromise on the love to address the issue in front of you. So we reverse the allegory, not just what we are doing in our relationship with God, but our relationship with our partner. When you understand that there is nothing in the world which is more worth doing than loving this person. And out of that love will be a fountain of things, of caring and frustration, compassion and solitude, inspiration and disappointment, because we're just people. But out of loving with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, hopefully you will navigate your way through all of the range of emotions. I always tell wedding couples that the ketubah is hanging on your wall not just as a piece of artwork when things are easy. The ketubah is a reminder of your love when times are hard. It is a reminder of love and commitment. It is something we need to be reminded of over and over again and often. Love needs nurturing, and that is what is commanded, cultivating love. Maybe this can be part of our daily Moda Ani practice each morning for cultivating love. The second point is found in the same verse, bringing your complete self to love. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha. Rashi in the 11th century, he's intrigued by the variant spelling with all of your heart because it has a double letter that is unexpected to be there. And again, you can look if you're interested on 155. B'chol levavcha, with all of your heart. The form of the noun is with two bets. It's written with two bets instead of the usual form that would have one bet. Love God with your two inclinations, Rashi says. The Yetzer HaTov, the inclination to do good, and the Yetzer Hara, the inclination to do bad. Another explanation, b'chol levavcha, with all your heart, is that your heart should not be at a variance. It should not be divided. Your heart shouldn't be split. And we're understanding that to mean not split from each other, that there should be a unity even amongst these inclinations. So the double bet is our two hearts. Lev and Lev spelled with each bet. Love is bringing our complete selves, good and bad, to our relationship. Love, good and bad, to the person in front of us. And that requires trust and safety and vulnerability to our partner. The Lev of our best selves and the Lev of our emerging self, we'll say. Our jealous selves, our competitive selves, our angry selves, our selfish selves, our callous selves. Not our best selves, but both are required for love. The double bet means being with someone who can see all of you and you can show all of yourself too. And the third is unselfish love. Rabbi Shimon ben Tzemach Doran, also known as the Rashbats, early 15th century Spain, taught anyone who establishes a friendship for access to power, money, or intimacy, when these end and are not attained, then the friendship ceases. He adds, love that is not dependent on selfish ends is true love, love of the other person, since there is no other intended end or benefit other than the love itself. Or one of the most famous relational Jewish philosophers, Immanuel Levinas of the 20th century, he said it this way: love exists without worrying about being loved. Levinas and the Rashbats are teaching us to share our love abundantly, to love because it is the right thing to manifest in the world and for ourselves, not to love because we expect something in return, but to love because it can be transformative all unto itself. That is the optimism, the hopefulness, the buoyancy, the bullishness, the rosiness I mentioned earlier. It is ingrained in the Jewish people and how we perceive love. It is a reminder we need what we need at this difficult time, and love is something that I have found again. As my heart has expanded, my family has expanded, and my love has expanded, and I'm grateful for this moment. So Sarah, my kala, and to Simone and Gabe and Ben and Ma'ayan and Shoshana, our 5 children, and to this community in which our love has been nurtured, I asked for us to find together in the words of the Birkat HaChodesh, Chaim shel Shalom, a life of peace. Chaim shel Tova, a life of goodness. And Chaim shel Bracha, a life of blessing. Amen, amen, amen. Shabbat Shalom.